Hello, welcome to Chef Richard's Kitchen. I'm Chef Richard Miller. Well, tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day, and during the last week I've been making some episodes and putting them up online of some of the more traditional Irish foods, and even one that isn't really traditional Irish, but I think nobody'd mind that I put it in there. I put in Irish soda bread, which is a traditional. I put in Colcannon, which is a potato, cabbage, and bacon dish, and of course the one that isn't truly Irish, but I didn't think anybody'd mind, was Bailey's Irish Cream. You can see these. I have a playlist out there on St. Patrick's Day. Go ahead and take a look at them. They're all out there. I'll have the recipes out there as well. So today we're going to finish this series, and today we're going to make corned beef and cabbage. And corned beef and cabbage is probably one of the easiest things to make. Even creating the corned beef out of brisket is extremely easy to do. And if anybody really is interested in seeing how that's done, drop me a comment, send me an email at chefrdmiller@att.net, and we'll see if we can put that on there, because it really is. It's extremely easy. Then we go ahead and do that. There's only about 4 ingredients in corned beef and cabbage other than water. And I have some water here, and I've got the slow cooker heating up already a little bit. We have probably between a 2 and 4 pound corned beef, a corned beef brisket here. We'll have a head of cabbage, just plain green cabbage. We have some potatoes. I've used russets, I've used red, I've used Yukon Gold. Actually, I kind of prefer the less starchy, and russet potatoes have a lot of starch in them, so I tend to either use the red or the Yukon Golds that have a little less in there. You can also take these, and what we'll do is we'll just chop them up a little bit more, probably in halves in here. I tend to use the smaller ones. You can put them in skinned or skinless. It makes no difference, as far as cooking or anything else does. Often I prefer skinless, and that's just simply because often people take and mash them down afterwards. But you can do that with the skin. They call them smashed instead of mashed. So either way, take your pick. It's purely up to you. The last ingredient, and you find a little packet of this when you get your corned beef, and it's pickling spice. That's all it is. And here, just for this, I put some just plain pickling spice in the packet, and you can see they're exactly the same thing. If you like your corned beef and want just a little more of that corned beef flavor in there, just put in a ½ teaspoon or something like that, pickling spice. That's all you need. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to do this in a couple of different phases. First off, I'm going to put the corned beef in here and the spices, and I'm going to go ahead and get that going. We'll probably go for about 4 hours or something like that. And then I'm going to come down and I'm going to cut up the cabbage, and we're going to put that in there. And then after about another 30 minutes, something like that, we'll put the potatoes in. And then we'll be about finished up after probably about 6 hours, 7 hours, something like that. And at that point, we're going to get a chance, we're going to taste it. So anyway, let's go ahead and start our corned beef. Corned beef usually comes with a meat side and a fat side. Now this isn't much of a fat side. I've seen it with a lot more on there before. If you want to trim it, go ahead. But remember, with the water, most of it is gonna heat and boil away anyway. So I tend to put this down in the slow cooker, and the reason for that is simply that sometimes the bottom of the slow cooker can get a little warm, and at that point it just is a little insulation for the meat. All right. Now we take, and here's another little trick that I do. You have to go ahead and pretty much cover the meat with water. And I don't have enough right in here. It's been heating up, and I don't want to pour cold water in there because it's going to take time to heat that up. So I've had some water heating on the stove over there, so I'll go ahead and I'll put that in. Now, what did people do before slow cookers? Well, you could either put them, in a big stock pot, fill them with water, and let them simmer. Most of the day, you could put them in a roaster filled with water. You could put them in a Dutch oven with water. Lots of ways, but you need the water in there simply so you can cook it at a much lower temperature so you can get the flavor out of the pickling spices, and it'll be a much more tender beef when it comes out. All right. We'll sprinkle our spices in here. I want to add just a little bit more to mine. Now, the one thing that you're not going to find so much in the pickling spice that you often will in the spice that comes with it are some red pepper flakes. And these are just plain old red pepper flakes. It gives it just a little bit. It's not enough to put heat in there, but often cayenne pepper will tend to brighten it up just a little bit in small doses. Don't put that in there, you'll never be able to eat it. But just maybe sprinkle a little bit in your hand and put it in there. That's just enough to brighten it up just a little bit. That's probably enough right there. So I'm not going to put it in there simply because there's already some in there. Or, if you really like spicy foods and want it a little spicier, go ahead and add a little bit more. But make sure your guests also like spice before you do it. Okay, here's phase one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the lid on here, and we're going to let it cook for probably about 4, 5, 6 hours, something like that, and probably about 4, maybe 5. Then we'll come back, we'll put our cabbage in there. So I know it's going to be a long time, but for you, camera time is going to be about 1.5 seconds. So anyway, I'll see you again in about 5 hours. So, take care, don't go far. Welcome back. It's been about 4.5 hours, something like that. I just went ahead and I stuck a fork in our corned beef, and it's getting pretty well done, so it's about time we stick in our cabbage. Now, what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've cut sections into a small head of just regular green cabbage. But one thing that I want to mention to you is the stem down here. When they chop it off, there's still part of the stem inside the cabbage, and that's a very fibrous and tough, piece of the plant. So you really don't want to serve that to your guests, so just take and chop it off and discard it. So now let's go ahead and let's put the cabbage in. Okay. Now, one thing you're going to notice is, we're kind of a little out of water in here. So, what we want to do is we want to add just a little bit of water, because remember, we're going to come back and I'm going to peel the potatoes while you're away. We're going to come back, we're going to put the potatoes in, let it cook for probably another 30, 40 minutes, something like that. Well, when we put the water in, we don't want to put cold in there because that means it's going to drop the temperature. And it'll take a while to bring it back up. So what I did is I heated some water on the stove. And this was about 200 degrees, so I heated the water on there to about 200 degrees. So there. Now we've got our water up to where it should be. I'm going to go ahead and put the top back on. We're going to let it cook for probably about an hour. And then we'll come back. By that time, the potatoes peeled. And I think I'll also put a couple of carrots in here, or a carrot, something like that. Why? Just because I want to. So I'll see you back in probably 45 minutes to an hour. As always, don't go away. I'll be right back. Okay, before I came back on, I went ahead and about a half hour, 45 minutes ago, I went ahead and put the potatoes and the carrots in there. And I just checked it. By putting a fork in there, and they're done. So let me go ahead and I'm going to pull out some of this, the cabbage, the potatoes, and the carrots. All right. And now, let me go ahead and pull corned beef out. All right. Here we have our corned beef. Very, very tender. We have our cabbage, very, very tender. Now, let's go ahead and let's cut everything up, and then we'll go ahead and plate. You can see how nice and tender the corned beef is. It just comes apart. All right. Now we've got our corned beef, we have our cabbage, our potatoes. Let me go ahead and let me set a few things to the side, and then we're going to... All right, since the corned beef is actually this tender and pretty much falling, fall apart on its own, instead of, going ahead and putting it on a plate in slices, let me go ahead and just put it on with tongs. Put a little bit of our cabbage. couple of our carrots. Now, one thing I'm going to do, instead of putting our potatoes on here, which I always put potatoes in with my corned beef and cabbage, but remember an episode or so ago, I put in potatoes Colcannon? Well, that's what we're going to serve with this. So let's go ahead and put just a little bit of this in. All right, and if you remember from the episode, the traditional way of serving this is to put a little well in your potatoes and then put a piece of butter in there. Here is our Irish soda bread from a previous episode. We're going to put this on there. And here we have it. You don't get much more St. Patrick's Day than corned beef and cabbage, you know, Irish Colcannon and Irish soda bread. So go ahead and give it a try. One last thing though, if you really want to have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day, remember the Irish cream that we made? That's right. Put a little Irish cream in there. So, once again, we go ahead and for a garnish, we could just put parsley on this. We can put just about anything we want. There we go. A wonderful St. Patrick's Day meal for you. Once again, thank you for watching me. Thanks for watching all 4 of my St. Patrick's Day specials. Take care. God bless. Please, you know, if you like it, let me know. Send me a comment. If you don't, send me a comment. I'd like to know what you didn't like about it, what we could do differently. In the meantime, once again, take care. God bless. Thank you for watching this episode, and we'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.